Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Ryan with Propelio. Today's Propelio Live. We've got some cool things we want to talk about. One, we want to do some kind of a recap of our, not a recap, but a progress report of our ongoing case study with Hardwood. If you've watched last week's video with Daniel and I, we kind of talked about the decision-making process of where to go with it and what kind of exit strategy. This week, we're going to show you, hey, which exit strategy we chose and the progress through that. Additionally, we're going to be talking about one of our subscribers in one of the deals they did and showing you how Propelio can help you make some money and make some deals. So stick around, we'll be right back. What's going on, everybody? That's your cue to actually jump in.
Hey, so how's everybody doing today? I'm excited about today's show. So over the weekend, I got a message from Bettina. She messaged me, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 months ago. And she was like, hey, I've got a really great lead under contract for $75,000. I think it's appraised right. It's appraised right now at $180,000. I think ARV on it's like $290.
Right.
And she's got it under contract for 75 grand. And I'm like, all right, so what are your plans? And she hit me up. She's like, well, I'm wholesaling it with another guy. He's got a buyer lined up, ready to go, and we're just gonna get this thing closed out. But once they found out what the profit was gonna be on this property, all of a sudden, you know, buyers weren't showing up. Things were starting to act a little funny. And I'm like, girl, you need to do everything in your power right now to close on that deal, stop marketing it, and just get the thing closed.
To ink it up and make sure she has complete control.
So she had it inked up. But she was trying to wholesale it with somebody, and I don't know the details on that, so I'm not going to speak negatively on that. All I know is that she had some concerns pop up, and boom, she was like, well, what should I do? And I was like, you need to take it down.
Yeah, and that's a quick little golden nugget right there is in real estate, everybody's your friend or they're your enemy and trying to snake you. And it doesn't really seem like there's that much gray area in the middle. It's like we're buddy-buddy or holy shit, I'm gonna steal that shit.
And like I said, I don't know any of the true details behind all that, so I don't want to speak on her behalf. But you know, she was just like, what do I need to do? And we were like, she was like, take it down, take it down, take it down.
Right, it goes back to that whole trust but verify. Like, you know, you can be friends, but yeah, but definitely you got to be in complete control.
Yeah, so that's what I told her. I was like, you need to ink it up. You need to get a writ of possession, not a writ of possession, get a memorandum of contract filed and just close as quick as possible. And I don't think at that point in time she'd ever done any hard money loans before or anything like that. So she was a little scared about going through that. And once again, this is like a conversation 5 months ago, but I just got a message from her over the weekend. And she's pulling over 100 grand out of that property. And so what she ended up doing was she was going to try and wholesale it, take it and put it straight to the MLS and see what could happen. And she said it went on the MLS and just she wasn't getting it sold.
So are we going to talk about that now, or are we going to talk about that after and talk about Hardwood?
I'm just so excited about it. Let's talk about Hardwood. Let's talk about Hardwood first. So Hardwood's moving along good.
Yeah.
So I went out there a few times this week. So I've got all of the sheetrock cracks are repaired. We're prepped 100% for paint. Got everything taped off. It's ready to go. It was probably painted over the weekend. When we're done with this show, I'm going to go double check.
So just to be clear, what we decided on that was we were going to move forward with the prehab, fix the roof, fix some of the little bit of the interior, but not go a full-blown rehab. And
how much
are we spending total on that?
We'll probably be in somewhere between 15 to 20. I'm thinking we're going to definitely stay closer to the 15 range.
Right.
But as of right now, I think by the end of the week, with about 15,000 in upgrades, we can get this thing listed.
So I know Trey just prepared a video. Do you want to kind of lead in, or you just want to show the video and then discuss afterwards?
Yeah, it's a pretty simple video. We can just go ahead and watch it real quick. I'm just kind of reviewing what's going on at the house and getting ready for the next phase.
Cool.
So one of the things I think I should go ahead and let know is it's crazy with construction, especially with remodels. Like the first 80% of the work is the hardest. It takes the longest, and like the house never looks any different, really. It's just like, okay, the house looks like a trashed out junkyard, but you can be 80% done with the project. It's when you finally shoot the paint and when you drop the flooring, does the house look totally new again? But that's the last 10 to 15% of the work.
Yeah, you throw paint on a house, it's like a brand new house.
Right, so when you see this, it's gonna look not much different than what it did last week, but all in all, the property's almost done.
Yeah, and that's the thing is we want to show you the different steps that we do here, and And I say we, like I know Trey was like, hey, you coming? Daniel was like, you coming to the video? I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm too busy. And so I'm not in this video. So you're welcome. So anyway, Trey, let's go ahead and cue that off.
Hi. Where are we at on ductwork for hardwood? I need to find somebody to install carpet. I need carpet done by the end of next week. We should be able to list this thing by the end of next week. Get 2 or 3 quotes. I wouldn't expect to pay more than $800 for it. And whoever's good to go, get them out here to do it. What were we looking like on landscaping? I saw your post earlier on that. So right here, let's just look at this. Like, I've got mud coming up in here. I've got this tree here. There's no way to really utilize this access of the sidewalk. You have to cut through here, and it just doesn't look that good. So instead of trying to, you can't really manicure this, because if you see how dead everything is down in here, if they trim it all back, it's just gonna look like a bunch of sticks. So we're gonna kill all of that. Then this will actually be functional again. Clear this out and just put a little bit of color in here, some flowers, some mulch and stuff like that. It'll just make it look good again. Javier is gonna replace these 2 pieces of siding. We're gonna get and button that gutter down. Get that one buttoned back up. And then the outside of the house, we've got, come on out this way, we've got a landscaper coming over the weekend, early next week. And we've got a bunch of dead stuff up in this tree. This tree is in pretty bad shape, but we'll cut all this dead stuff out of it. I'm no professional tree person, but we'll get all that dead stuff cut out of there, clean that out, clean up the bushes here, and then the front of the house will look fairly decent. We're not gonna paint it. The paint that's on there is actually fairly decent, but we've got some rotten siding and stuff that we're gonna take care of before listing it. Overall, we're gonna be into this project for under 20 grand. We bought it at 105 and we're gonna sell it at 195. So we've got a really nice spread on it. So once all that's cleaned up on the outside, we'll get rid of this. It'll be a nice, easy walk up on here. You won't have, you know, cut across here like that. We're gonna paint the front door. Oh, see, just like that. Told you. Dangerous. All right. So paint right now, like if you look at last time, we've got all this sheetrock repair. We've got all this sheetrock repair. And what's crazy is this house may not look much different than it did last week, but this is a week's worth of labor, and we are right on track to making this house look totally different, because everything, the prep work, the repair work, all of that comes up to the painting and the flooring, but like 80% of your job looks like crap, and it's the last 20% that really makes everything shine. The paint, the flooring, once those go in, the home looks totally different. But as of right now, this house has had a lot of improvements already done to it. You're just not seeing it. Paint will be done in the next day or 2, and once that's done, this house will look totally new. So same thing, general thing all throughout there. We can kind of go take a look at that bathroom here in a second, but we can see over here, these are double pane windows, and somebody's tried painting them and they've been popped, the seal's been popped on them. So we got quotes to replace this entire slider for the material and labor was right at $2,200. It's a much larger slider than an average like one you can go buy at Lowe's. So we had to order it custom. But instead of doing that, because of the way our comps look, our comps show that, you know, we don't really need to deck this place out. So $2,200 for a new one installed, or $800 for new glass installed. So we just went ahead and paid new glass. We didn't put a whole new door in, just replaced this piece of glass, these 2 pieces of glass, and put new rollers on it, and it's good to go. There's my daughter over there having fun with the back door. What you doing, kiddo? What you doing? So, back here, they're busy back there. But yeah, on the next update, you'll see a little bit about what we did to the master bedroom. It's nothing big, but there was a whole bunch of trim installed by the previous owner. We pulled all that trim off. We took the spindles out of the pony wall between the master bedroom and the master bath to give it a little bit more of an updated look, although we're not doing a whole lot of updates here. It just didn't cost anything to do it, so you might as well. And by the time we get this one done next week, we should pull off a pretty good profit on it. So look forward to seeing an update next week.
Yeah.
And my name is Tyler.
Tell him your name.
Taylor. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm so dirty.
Hey. Anyway, sorry. So what did we just see?
So we are well into the prehab process of this. we had a little bit of settling cracks in the house, nothing to do with the foundation. We had the foundation checked out, it looked good. No settling, we just cleaned up the settling cracks and started prepping for paint. There was a lot of bad molding, not mold, molding.
Another tip, it's never the M word.
Yeah, what is it?
It's fungi. I don't know.
It's
not
organic growing substance.
Because here's the thing: is if it's the M word, that means you got to get like the technical people to really spray and clean. And, and then agents know this more than we do. But
organic growth.
Organic growth. I don't know. But it's like if it's the M word, then you have to disclose it, and then you have to do that. And at the end of the day, I'm not a botanist, and I'm not I don't know what mold is.
Right.
So it's kind of like, are you a lawyer? No. So therefore, you're not a mold expert.
So that's a good tip for me. I haven't paid attention to that.
Don't say the M word.
So molding, MOULDING. So the previous owner did a lot of just crappy molding in the house, and we MOULD molding. I hope I spelled that right. I just did that on shit. That was stupid. But no, they did just a bunch of crappy work, but fortunately they didn't put any silicone or latex or whatever, any DAP in the cracks. So I had all that pulled out. We got all of the sheetrock damage repaired, and we got all the trash out of there, got the flooring out of there, and now we're ready for paint. Now, if we're gonna do a full-blown remodel on this, and we're not gonna, during this time, I would have already pulled all the kitchen cabinets out. I would have pulled up all the rest of the flooring. I would have probably moved a wall around. I would have moved some things around a little bit. But with this being a prehab, we're not going to do any of that. We're leaving the bathrooms and the kitchen as is.
And one thing to think about in terms of as a real estate investor, full disclosure, Daniel and I are partnered up on this house outside of Propelio and whatnot. But as an investor, I don't necessarily need to be at the house. How many times have you been to the house since last week? Like
once
or twice? Yeah.
Once.
So as an investor, treat your investments as an investment and not a crying baby that you need to babysit every 3 minutes.
Yeah, if you're at the house all day long, I mean, and I don't want to say right or wrong, because I mean, everybody has different objectives. Everybody has a different reality that they live in. When I got started doing remodels, I was living in them. And then as I got further and further along, that was the part of the job that I enjoyed the most. So I spent more time at the houses than I probably should have.
Right. But I mean, you've also said, I didn't mean to cut. Sorry. Well, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you've also said you wish you had added a couple more zeros to your investments. And the only way you do that is by doing more deals.
Bigger deals,
more deals, all the above. But if you're in the house, you're not able to jump on those opportunities.
But if I'm the guy that enjoys being in the house, I could outsource some of the other stuff, you know.
I agree. No, you need to be swinging hammers because that clears your head.
That does. That's where I get most of my work done, is whenever I'm out just mentally just turned off doing manual labor, and I just go through and I just start doing all the normal day-to-day business work stuff in my head while I'm swinging the hammer.
But I've also painted a house with you, and that didn't work out so much.
There's a photo of me hanging off the top of a ladder with you holding on to like my belt while I'm leaning off, because there was like an 18-foot ceiling. We just couldn't get up there.
That one, it was like one of those high ladders. I'm on one side holding you with your arm like this, and you're...
I wish we still had a copy of that photo
It was completely safe. OSHA was they approved.
We're all good on that one. So back to it, but we're not doing a full-blown remodel on that. So we went through, got all of the sheetrock repairs done, and they probably painted it over the weekend. When we get done with today's show here, I'm going to go ahead and run over there and see what's going on over there. But once it's painted, all we have to do is put carpet down, and it's ready to list. So what you just saw in that video might not look like a very, you know, sexy house, but inside of about an 8-hour day, that home would go from what it looked like there to completely painted, and inside of probably another 3 to 4 hours, carpet gets installed. And once all that's done, the home looks completely different. I'm going to go ahead and have him do a little bit of the exterior repairs, clean up some of that siding, pull up that gutter. But beyond all that, I mean, it's a good house. So,
and then what you said earlier today, or like an hour ago, like probably listed by the end of the week?
I'm looking to list it by the end of the week. We've got a lot of rain here in DFW right now, so that might slow me down on some of the exterior repairs.
Right.
If it does, then I'll probably list it early next week, early the week after, or early next week. But by the end of this week, I should be inside done 100%.
And you want to talk about good fortune? We fixed the roof last week. And now we've got like 3 days straight of just shitty rain.
Yeah, well, like 7-8 inches of rain over this week is what we're
flash
supposed to
flooding,
be projected. So that's going to be crazy. So that's the update on that. We'll follow back up on that one next week. But let's jump into what Bettina did up there down in San Antonio.
Cool.
So we already kind of gave a real quick understanding of what was happening with that house. But overall, I mean, she took it down. She did what she needed to do, and she listed the property. So for those that are just now joining up, she picked this property up for 70 grand. She had it under contract for 75. For whatever reason, I believe she closed at 70, and she just sold it for 210,000 on the MLS, or
as a hotel, or did she actually?
As a hotel.
Okay.
Well, she initially took the approach of trying to wholesale it, but she wasn't getting any offers where she thought she was supposed to, and she ended up, I believe, pulling it off of the market. Maybe she could jump and give some details on it. I'm hoping she'll join us for the Iron Heels show on Friday and have her come in and just talk about the whole deal itself. But she had it under contract, was going to try and wholesale it, decided maybe that wasn't the best. She ended up taking it down and then listing it, and it wasn't selling. So what she decided to do, I believe, is she went ahead and took it off of the market and put about $6,000 into upgrades into this house. That's not a whole lot of money. That's not a whole lot of money at all.
Right.
But she put $6,000 into it, relisted it, and within 24 hours had a offer over asking, and she accepted it. So we just had the net sheet. I sent it over to you.
Yeah, we can kick it up there, Trey.
But that net sheet is going to show that she received back almost 180 grand, 189 grand, but she had a $70,000 loan against the property. So the overall profit on it's going to be probably a little over 100 grand. And she did all of this just from taking action. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I see newer real estate investors struggle with, is the fear of the unknown, and they let that fear stop them from taking action.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, well, we had a gentleman 2 weeks ago on the Grant Teach Me Something who was like, basically he's like, I got a 105 ARV, or no, a 175 ARV, 105 purchase, like it's move-in ready, do I have a deal? And everybody on Facebook was like, dude, ink that up immediately.
Right.
But, you know, and he was a newer guy, didn't really know what was going on, but excuse me, he was taking action. And the week later, we found out that he did get a contract, and then it was just a matter of, okay, what's the exit? And I think he's going to probably try to wholesale it for like 20 grand or so.
That'd be, so if it was move-in ready, I mean, if he could really do it, it'd be great to take that thing down.
I don't think he had the real funds to take it all the way down and do it.
But a good pro tip for y'all that y'all may have not just caught that Ryan was talking about is ink the property up first and then figure out the details later. I mean, if you're sitting there and you think you've got a deal, instead of going through 9,000 questions to really determine if you've got a deal, then go to get the contract. Go get the contract and then go through the 9,000 questions you have before you close on it. You know, I mean, one of my mentors always told me, he's like, a good investor figures out what to do and then gets the contract. A great investor gets the contract and then figures out what to do. Right. So it's just a good common sense thing to do. Get the contract and then figure it out. Yeah, that conversation of how do I get started? What do I do now? What do I do? It's like it in some ways I understand it is it's a scary question, because if you don't know anything and all you've done is read a book here and there and you watch a couple of these shows and you hear terms and you're like, I don't have a clue what they're talking about, and then you hear us left and right just say take action, take action, take action. You're like, what does that mean? And my canned response is always like, well, where do you work? Where do you live? Take a different route every single day, learn the neighborhoods, and write down addresses of a house that looks like it needs to be flipped. Then what? Well, once you get that information, hit me up, you know, and then I'll show you step 2. But it's so surprising how many people I've told that to, and crickets after that. That's why I stopped personally spending massive amounts of time with people trying to teach them everything I know. I would take the approach you just did, and I was like, I'll give you enough to get you to the next step. Right. And if you accomplish that, then I'll give you the next step. But I'm not going to give you steps 1 through 10, because most of the times when I spent massive amounts of time teaching people steps 1 through 10, they never get past step 1. And it's just like, that's a waste of my time. So I just give them step 1, and if they prove to me they're ready for step 2, I give them step 2. Well, not only that, if it's a phone call, you're taking time away from your own business. Mm-hmm. If it's in person, you're taking time away from your own business and your own life. If it's texting,
you know,
it's still time when you got hundreds of people that have access to your numbers.
Yeah, so it's
that's how I changed my mentoring up to. It's just like when people are asking me how do I do this, I give them 1 or 2 action steps, and if I don't see results from that, I don't go further.
Yeah.
But jumping back on that, I don't remember where we're at on that.
She made a lot of money.
She did make a lot of money. Great job on that. But what she did is she took action. She definitely took action. We did a show earlier this year, and if you haven't seen it, I'll go ahead and drop a link to it here. That right there, I just dropped it, Daniel Chad Moore. That deal, that show we did, I've had more people reach out to us from that one single show than any other show that I can really think of off the top of my head, saying that they're knocking out some major deals. So we did a show earlier this year where I taught how to use the Public Information Act to source vacant properties through the government. And for those of y'all that missed that class, I'll give you a real quick update on that. So here in Texas, I can't speak about the rest of the 49 states. I know quite a few of them. You have the ability to do this because I've seen people from outside of Texas reach out to me and say, hey, this is working. So I can't promise you anywhere outside of Texas that this works, but I know for a fact in Texas it does. We have the Public Information Act here in Texas that allows us to send a request into our government and say, I want access to all of this information. And for the most part, you know, you can get access to some pretty crazy stuff with that. But how do I use that as a real estate investor? What do I do as a real estate investor to find vacant properties by using the Public Information Act? And what I showed in this particular class that I just dropped a link to is what we can do is we can go to the government. And well, if I'm moving into a house or I'm moving out of a house, what are some of the basic steps that I might do? Let me ask y'all out there in the crowd. If I'm gonna move out of my house, what are some of the basic steps of what I might do? So as you're out there thinking about that, Ryan, let's just go through that.
From a homeowner or from an investor, what do you mean?
If I'm a homeowner and I'm about to move.
You're gonna buy a lot of cardboard boxes.
Gonna buy a lot of cardboard boxes. I'm probably gonna find a mover. I'm gonna get packed up. I get everything packed up, I get moved out. What are some of the final steps for letting that house go?
I'm gonna turn off the electricity, I'm gonna turn off my water.
There we go. That's what I'm getting to. So if I'm turning off the electricity, who owns the electric company? Some Joe Blow, who knows? But it's more than likely Encore. That's who delivers it. Right. But it's not privately held, or I mean, it's not publicly held.
There's so many of them now. Yeah.
Whenever I go to turn off the water, though, who owns the water company?
The city.
Almost always, the water is going to be controlled by the municipality. And if that is the case, that is a public entity controlled by the government, and through that I can go through the Public Information Act and say, hey, I want access to all water accounts that have had the water shut off in the last 30 days. So if y'all are catching me on that, what we're doing is we're using the Public Information Act to tell the governing bodies that we want a list of all properties that have had the water shut off in the last 30 days. And through that, I can now find out very quickly what accounts have had the water turned off on. Now, I can think of 3 reasons why that might happen. 1,
they're moving.
2,
they're broke.
2, they're broke and they couldn't afford the bill. 3, an emergency. You know, they for whatever reason, a pipe busted in the house. They couldn't figure out how to turn it off. They called the water department up and said, hey, I've got a busted pipe. Can you come turn it off for me? Those are the only reasons why that I can think of that they'd be turning that water off.
So from an investor point of view, 2 and 3 of those 3 examples is potential gold.
Now we've got a kind of a way to look at it. So they just turned the water off. They just sold the house. That could be a negative to us.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. If they turn the water off to move, that means they probably already sold it, and as an investor, it means nothing to us. But if they're broke or if there's an emergency, those are potential gold mines.
Or if they just abandoned the house. So let's say I've got a landlord and they had some tenants. They just jump fence, or they're preparing for their foreclosure and they know that they can no longer afford it. They're just being prepared. They go ahead and move out and say, I'm done with it. They let it go.
Or potential REO and they winterized it.
So there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on there that could potentially work out for us as an Avia. So this is a way to get leads that you can do using the government. They're fresh. They're, within the last 30 days, this property went vacant. That's no better lead than I could possibly think of as a real estate investor. That's just like screams opportunity.
Well, because if say it is a landlord, and say it's a out of town or out of state landlord, and it's it's a house that for them potentially they haven't messed with in years. It's been mailbox money, and now they're like, oh crap, I gotta do something. What am I gonna do? And then if you're the the white knight coming to help you out and be like, hey, I can take it off your hands, they might be like, okay.
So if anybody's out there that's watched, sorry about that, if there's anybody out there that's watched that particular video and you actually went out and implemented some of the stuff that we taught in that video, drop in the comments here, your success and or some of the questions or some of the setbacks you were catching from that, because, Bettina has told me that she's been knocking out deals left and right off of that. Right. Jeremy Miller reaches out to me at least once every other month or once a month or so and is like, hey man, I just knocked out another deal off of that strategy you taught us. And, I just think it's amazing that we're dropping this kind of content and that you people out there are actually paying attention.
What do you mean by you people?
All of y'all out there, man. I love getting feedback from these guys.
I will say it is kind of cool though. Like I don't know if it was Gary Vee or Cardone or one of those guys. It was like, the what price can you put towards appreciation? Like what dollar amount is like when you get appreciation back for what you're giving out, it's like, oh, that's awesome.
It does,
like,
man.
Bettina making $100,000, it's like, man, I wish I had $100,000, but that's badass that she made it.
Man, my inbox stays just full, and it's difficult for me to manage and keep up with it. But man, whenever I see those messages come through, like I did this weekend from Bettina, it's like, hey, I just made $100,000, thank you. And I love that. That is why we're doing that. That's why we enjoy being up here so much. I mean, obviously Propelio gets benefits out of that, but I absolutely love this. Getting those kinds of messages is what makes our day. So if you haven't had the opportunity, man, go watch it. I just dropped this link once again here. Go out and watch it, and then ask some questions. Let me see if we got any questions coming through. Have you seen anything pop up
I haven't
yet?
seen. I had a couple of
So
a
everybody
lot of love. I will say, Sohail, he brought something I was thinking about, and I haven't seen anybody figure out a way to make money off this. A change of address. Is there a way to figure that out?
Let's talk about that real quick. So we have the Public Information Act. That is a Texas, I think, statute. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but it's Texas law. And with that being said, I can't speak about that in regards to the other 49 states. But as far as the other 49 states go, there's what we call FOIA, the the Freedom of Information Act. That is a federal level law that allows you to, basically submit requests to the federal government and get that information back. United States Post Office, who runs that? The government. And now I've never personally tried this, and I don't 100% know how it works. I've been told by more than one person you can't do this, but you file a FOIA request to find out who's filed changes of addresses and stuff like that. I've been told by quite a few people that cannot be done.
Right.
But I have to take that with a grain of salt, because I have literally taught people step by step how to get the water lists, and they come back to me and tell me it can't be done.
Right.
So I know that there might be differing opinions upon that, but change of address, you might be able to file a FOIA request and get the information there.
And there's probably like one investor person out there that's figured it out and is the biggest screamer in the top of their head. Nope, doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work. Nope.
So there are other ways. You've got the USPS vacant property list that you can scrub your lists against. Well, that's still, once again, known vacant properties to the USPS. So there's ways of getting that information.
So Elizabeth Neverete, she was joining in a second ago. She was like, agree, Daniel. I picked up a $1.5 million home during Harvey. We got under contract for $750, removed all the sheetrock insulation, and then turned it, or wholetailed it for $900 without even it hitting MLS.
See, man, those are great deals. I absolutely love those types of deals. So who out there has ever heard of these water lists or how to scrape these using the Public Information Act? We've got almost 40, 50 people here watching right now. Of all of these people, I want to see some comments below of who's actually heard of this, and I want to see your responses to each other, because if there's 50 people here and only one person in the crowd, 2 people in the crowd, 5 people in the crowd, like, yeah, I've heard of this before. Opportunities. Y'all are looking for opportunities. You're looking for ways to create revenue. I'm showing you a lead source right now that I'm willing to bet very few people watching have ever heard of outside of me teaching it to them.
And I do want to throw out there, and this is like a subtle a self-promotional, self-gratification, I don't know. The water list, Propelio doesn't even offer that. So we're talking about stuff that's completely no gain to us other than gain to you. So I think that's
I have zero desire to try and sell that list. That list is incredibly time consuming to build, regenerate, and keep going. So for me in-house, just to do DFW, I had three full-time employees just to keep that list going all month long. I had 2 virtual assistants, one of them to file all the requests and cross-reference the data, and then another one to go through and build the data set. So whenever you file these, with the way Texas works, Texas Utility Code 182.052 basically writes the ground rules for how this works, what we're allowed to do. 182.052 says that a water company may withhold information from the general public. Even though it's a public entity, all of their, like, I wouldn't want to be able to file a Public Information Act request and say, give me all of your credit card numbers that you have on file. Well, if you're a governing body that has all these credit card numbers and, you know, I was able to do that, they would be forced to give me those credit card numbers. So there's protections that they give there. And what we need to look at on that is it causes problems. And the data that we get back is absolutely nothing but an address.
Yeah, and one thing I know, Jared was dropping in the comments, Jared Weaver, requested water data from my city, and the request was referred to the Texas Attorney General. A couple weeks later, they forwarded the AG's opinion and declined my request. What I would say to that is you need to make sure your request is for the data only and not personal details, and that's probably why they declined it.
So what I'd like to add on to that, and it's like, so okay, they declined your request. The Attorney General should give an exact reason for the decline, and then beyond that, we need to figure out how you worded the request. There are very specific words and ways that it has to be submitted. One of those is going to be, I specifically put in my request, you may redact all confidential information covered under Texas Utilities Code 182.052. All remaining information, including the property address, must be released. Under 182.052, unless there's been a revision made that I'm unaware of, the address is not private information. The address is public information. I'm not asking for their name. I'm not asking for the status of their bill. All I'm wanting to know is, was the water shut off and what is the address? And if you do that and you change that up, then you most definitely should get access to it. And if you're not, I would check out and I would call the OAG myself and find out why and what I need to do to change to get that information.
Well, we've got a lot of comments coming in now, so thank you. Keep those coming. We're going to take a quick break, quick message from our sponsors, which is Propelio, obviously. And then we'll be right back, and then we're going to hit all these questions, all your concerns. If you need help, you need advice, drop them in the comments, and we'll hit every single one of them. And same goes for YouTube as well. So we'll be right back. Hey, we're back. Okay, so what we're talking about is the water list, and we're really jumping into the comment section. Let's see, let's scroll. Actually, let's hit up YouTube real quick. Colin Farrell, the actor, I don't know. Y'all are awesome. Learned so much from Propelio. Just officially closed on a house no other wholesaler was able to take down just by getting creative and negotiating down the first lien. So kudos to you. That's awesome.
Job.
Freeing up equity and being able to get the seller out from a pending foreclosure. So that's 2 good things. You were able to fix somebody's foreclosure. Well, not fix them. You got them out of the detriment, but you got a house. So kudos to you.
Let me ask Jared, if you're still watching, Jared, if you can put in the exact wording of what you requested, and then number 2, if you could possibly email me the AG's opinion. I'd like to see what they said. And then I guess number 3, what city was it? Because I'm curious to find out what city that was. So if you're still here, Jared, if you could answer those for me real quick, I'd like to find out.
And Cameron, you're saying heard of it but don't know how to do it. I'm assuming you're talking about the water list. Freedom of Information Act. Again, you're in Virginia, so I don't know if the laws where they vary, but basically you're just trying to get details on houses that, you know, a change of situation in their water has occurred. and it's up to you to figure out what that is. But it's a potential lead versus just driving around, driving for dollars or whatnot.
And one of the cool things with that is most of the time the municipalities don't charge for the lists. More often than not, if they did charge, it was under 20 bucks.
It's like $50 if like a Dallas.
Yeah, like a Dallas list, like on average, I'd get anywhere between 500 to 1,000 water shutoffs a month from Dallas. And they would normally charge anywhere between $50 to $70 for that list. And that's not bad. I mean, that's 500 to 1,000 properties that just had their water turned off in the last month. If you can't make more than $70 off of that list, there's something wrong.
And additionally, for that, it's like, okay, so say you spend $100 on that list, you're not, but say you did. I'm just going to throw out a BS number, but maybe like 1 in 10 investors actually target this list. It's very few.
No, it's probably even far less than that.
You think so?
I still can walk into a room. I've been teaching other investors how to do this for now close to 2 years, and I can still walk into a room with 100 people and ask, who knows what I'm talking about, and maybe 15 people will raise their room. Whereas 2 years ago, nobody raised their hand, because quite literally the way I learned about this, which I think I've told most people, but I was sitting at a Chili's one time, and there was a group of people sitting behind me at the booth, and I'm sitting there eating my steak dinner, and I hear real estate conversation going on behind me. And I'm just sitting there by myself, a lonely night, and I'm hearing this conversation, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. What? Public Information Act? Did you just say water? They shut off the water? I can tell you it took me like 2 hours to finish my steak, man. I just sat there that whole time, and I'm just eating it up. And all I got was bits and pieces. But the bits and pieces was enough for me to go back, start doing my own research and figure out what was going on. And that's how I ended up figuring out how to do this. So whenever I first started teaching it, nobody knew. It was kind of a hush-hush secret thing.
So Hale, would it be the request for me to send to each municipality? Yeah, it is. It's rough. You have to literally send it to every single city. So if you're like in Dallas County where there's like 23 million different cities, guess what? That's 23 million different requests every single month.
Yep, and so for you to scale and or leave this running in your business, you're gonna need to build a small team around it. I would hire a virtual assistant, a decent one that can handle this type of stuff for you, cost about $4 or $5 an hour. At $4 or $5 an hour, their entire job needs to be every single month, make the request. Once the requests come back, cross-reference them with CAD to find out owner's name and mailing address, and cross-reference them with the MLS to verify if it was a retail sale.
And I would say that the hardest, I'll admit that my experience in this is limited. That being said, I would say the hardest part about doing this is figuring out what the process that city wants. Some cities have a pre-built form that you fill out, and some people want a standardized letter. And then it's just a matter of figuring out what they want, have some way to auto-populate it to send it over. But one thing that I liked in Daniel's is pretty much every single form that he would put in, he reminds them what the law is of, oh, by the way, it's illegal for you not to give this to me, of some sort.
I do, because, I mean, I'm not going to say I pioneered this, because obviously I just admitted I learned this from somebody else inadvertently.
Chili's. First of all, why are you going to Chili's? Anyway, never mind.
I just finished off a closing actually with Scott Horn and Grant Kemp, I believe, and their office was right next to a Chili's, and I think that being a title company, just so happened other investors were eating dinner there as well too. But yeah, whenever I first started doing it, there were other investors doing this. Dallas knew about it, Fort Worth knew about it, some of the bigger cities knew about it, but I wanted to win, and I wanted to win big. So I basically looked and saw how many cities are within about a 45-minute to an hour's drive of central DFW, and there was about 170 to 175 of them. So what I did is I hired somebody to go through and figure out the process for all 170 some odd cities. And then once that was a stateside person, I had that stateside person figure all of that out. And then once they did that, train my virtual assistants on how to do it. And then once the virtual assistants gathered and created the data, they would send it back to my stateside person to compile and deliver the marketing. So it was essentially a 3-person team to just knock out the water lists.
And it seems like this is a good time to shout out to your VA class that you did. I don't know when we did, probably 6-8 months ago. You did a video about training your VA team. So
how to hire and train them.
Yeah, if we could find that video, we need to drop that link in there.
Let me see if I can find that one.
Real quick, Jeff Steele, thanks for watching. Got the info from Grapevine Meetup. Requests are easy to do, and info gets delivered within 7 to 10 days, usually free of charge, where some cities do want a nominal fee. Yes, sir. Bettina, I've got 6 deals so far. 6 deals, y'all.
And how much did I charge to teach that?
Shit, not enough.
I didn't charge a damn thing for anybody that wants to know.
3 flips, buying another flip. Just put it under contract. 1 through 5 needs 3 in renovations. ARV 185, all on the water list. So 6 deals off a water list that Daniel has made no money from. But you know what? The gratification in love is a good currency. Getting paid in hugs.
I mean, that makes me happier than just about anything. I mean,
I know. Yeah, you're not money motivated though.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. And that kind of screws me over sometimes. I mean,
me on the other hand, if you don't want to pay Daniel, you could by all means pay my ass.
If I was money motivated, I mean, I could sell that. I could sell that class without a problem at all. But I just enjoy seeing other people taking action and winning. Mm-hmm. That makes me happier than you could ever imagine. So what else do we got here? So what else
Matt Smith, I was told no, then Google searched my local city data and found more info than I could ever use.
So where are you at, Matt?
I forget where, he's in Texas, I just don't remember where in Texas.
Okay.
But that's a good point, is the city, there's so much wealth of information on a city website and at a city hall, and we've said it a couple times here, a couple of our guests have said it, is make friends with your city planners, make friends with the code enforcement and all those people in the city, and you'll be surprised what you learn.
They're just lead centers. I mean, network marketing is a very, very viable marketing strategy. If you're really good at talking to people and going out there and you've never met a stranger in your life, network marketing is golden for you. Just get out there and make it happen. But everything we've talked about so far is water. Mm-hmm. Public Information Act works for far more than just water lists. If you are, looking for, let's say, like you were just talking about code enforcement. If you're looking for a list of all code enforcement properties, that might be one. Let's get a little creative here. Let's look at some other things you might be able to do. Now, landlords, think about this. I'm about to drop a bomb on you. Pay attention, get out this. If you're a new wholesaler and you're looking for buyers, the state, I haven't tried this yet. So I'm thinking this out loud here. I might have to see. I want everybody out here that's paying attention to listen to what I'm doing, try it out, and if it works, be generous enough to reach back out to me and tell me that it works. Dallas and a lot of other cities are now starting to enforce landlords licenses. I'm not a big landlord, where they're forcing the landlords to have permits to verify that they're allowed to rent these properties out to tenants. Mm-hmm. If that goes through the government and you're a wholesaler and you're looking to build a stronger buyers list, I would essentially send out a Public Information Act, find all people that filed for that landlord permit or that, that occupancy permit, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And if you can do that and you file that request, you might now have a list of all the landlords. So you might be able to do absentee owners or something there, but you might be able to just figure that out that way. Other things you can do is you can go out and you can get all of the code enforcement violations. Mm-hmm. Another one you can do is now they're starting to force you to pre-register for the auction. So like for the tax auctions and stuff, you have to register with the city before you can go to the auction. Well, if they're having to register with the city, you can now file a Public Information Act and say, I want all attendees to last month's auction, or all registrants to the tax auctions. Mm-hmm. These are ways of building buyers lists that you may not have explored before.
And on top of that, on the auctions, I admittedly don't go to many auctions ever, just because it's not my strategy. That being said, I do have seen several people go to these auctions, and in the middle of summer, they bring some ice chests, they hire a couple of workers to help them out, and they give out water with their business cards.
Okay.
And it's getting hot or it's getting cold. Do the same thing. This time, do coffee and hot chocolate. And,
it's networking.
Because who goes to the auctions? People that buy.
That is.
And who have money in their pocket.
That is some good stuff there. So right now I've got 39 people watching. I need to ask for some help. If I've got 38 people watching right now, if you think this was worth watching, let your friends know. Tag some friends in it. Share it to your groups that you're working in. And I've only got 26 likes right now. If you feel like you've gotten anything out of this show so far, I think we can get at least one little thumb out of you. Come on, everybody. Drop us a thumb, give us a like, give us a laugh. If you thought this was absolute crap, go ahead and ban us and leave. I'm okay with that. But seriously now, we've got 38 plus people watching. We're seriously delivering some great content. Give us a shout out. Give us some thumbs out of 20.
There was one comment that was like a giant disclaimer of whatever,
Yeah,
whatever.
I saw
I'm
that.
like, I tried to read it. I had no clue. I don't know who the gentleman was, and I was just like, huh? So I don't know what that's about, but it's all good.
If somebody wants to sue me for this, which I'm sure that they probably could, feel
Oh
free
yeah, wait,
to
sorry.
get your refund.
We're not a lawyer. We're not financial planners. We're not CPAs. We're just a couple of idiots on Facebook and YouTube.
We're a bunch of idiots on YouTube and Facebook.
Here we go.
I got a question here from Cynthia. I'm 100% new to all this, and I was wondering if you guys had some book recommendations. Anything you guys found that helped you? I am all day long going to say Rich Dad, Poor Dad was the catalyst to not only my real estate investing career, but to many others. It is very much theory and mostly mindset. It's not really nuts and bolts actionable content, but if you're 100% new to this, you need the mindset. You need to shift your mind into entrepreneur, the EI side.
Also, The Richest Man in Babylon as well.
That's another great one.
mindset type book. Cynthia, I'm dropping you a couple of links in here.
I always love The One Thing. The One Thing is going to be a little bit further business related.
Right.
Traction.
Traction is huge.
Influence, The Power of Persuasion.
So there's a lot. Cynthia, we're dropping you a couple books here. Influence is more for the negotiation aspect. To be quite honest, a lot of the books for the real estate side, if you just keep watching what we're doing here at Propelio, go to Google and YouTube and Real Estate Investor, you will get so many different real estate tips. But I mean, there's the market changes and the different strategies change so much that most of the books that you should probably get are more of the mindset and whatnot.
Mindset means a lot to a newer investor, so don't discredit those books. The mindset delivered in that book is amazing because it really teaches you to change from a poor thought process to a rich thought process, and that is probably the hardest thing to accomplish. And if you're able to accomplish that, the rest of it kind of falls into place from there, because once you've shifted mentally, everything else is just going to come to you from there. So the laws of attraction, I think, are other things to think about up front when you're talking about mental shifts.
Yeah.
The laws of attraction is something to go out and study. And Rich Dad, Poor Dad, both of them I think are really good for getting you started in this business.
And what I liked about traction is, we all want to be the guy. We all want to be we all think we're the superhero in our own story. But what's cool about traction is it really makes you go, okay, what really are you? One thing about Daniel and I, he's the innovator. I'm more of the integrator. Basically that means he likes to go create plates and I like to spin plates, and with the irony
Our partnership works well.
The irony there though is he would love to be able to spin plates and I would love to be the guy. So I guess that goes back to you're never happy in life. But if you could find somebody that you can, rely on.
Yeah, there's no way I can explain how grateful I am for the partnership I've been able to make, not only with you, Ryan, but with Nate, with Mark, with Keith, with
Will.
Will. I can just drop names. When I first got into this business, and we're semi getting off topic here, but I'm going to try and help everybody out. This business is not a me against you business. There will be times where we're both going after the same property, but in my opinion, this is a network-centric business. If you don't have a strong network, and by having a network, these need to be people that you respect, you work with, and you do business with, but the stronger your network is in real estate, the more you're going to accelerate and grow. You're going to have access to private capital, access to other people that can take down deals with, access to just grow and build. So when I first got started, it was just me, and I wore myself out. It wasn't until I started seeing the power of building relationships did I actually start to accelerate. Yes, I was doing well, but I didn't really go from here to here without partnerships and friends. And man, it was great meeting you and being able to build up on that.
So Jared, he responded, this is the response that he got. which was positive.
I read that.
You read that?
I did read that, and so I'm gonna need to take a short break after this and just kind of study up and look through and see what was going on there. Because if this is Texas, outside of co-ops and privately held water departments, I have yet to have one that could successfully stop me. And I've pulled from over 170 cities. So for one city to be able to say no, my personal experience is going to say that no could be turned into a yes some way. So that's my response on that.
Yeah. It looks like we're starting to wrap up, so if you have final questions, final comments, please jump them in there. Jawad, thank you. This is a gift from Daniel and the Propelio team. Try to look dapper up for you guys.
Matt Smith, some other ideas of things you can pull off of public information, burn lists, arrest records, etc. Arrest records are really good ones, I personally think. You can get creative and start thinking outside of the box with all this.
Just to get creative, and only because it didn't really necessarily work and we tried it out, maybe the technology's changed, is about a year ago, we had a gentleman on talking about the Bluetooth marketing and the Bluetooth devices that could ping people's phones.
The beacons.
The beacons. And the technology may have changed, but when we heard that, we still shared it, but then we shut up about it because we were going to have a go at it. We had them outside of city halls. We had them outside of jails.
JP courts,
the courts,
auction houses.
We had them everywhere. It didn't necessarily work for us, mainly because when the technology, when you clicked on it, it went to a Google verify page, and people are
kind
like,
of spammy.
Yeah, so they're not going to move forward. But I only bring that up is because we're talking about getting creative, and that's something that.
Now that the technology's gotten a little better, we had, I don't know, 40 of them out? 40 or 50 of them out?
We had one. Yeah.
We had like 40 or 50
we had
of them.
We had about 50, yeah.
All out at JP courts, probate courts, divorce courts, trying to see what we could pick up off of it. And out of 4 to 5 months, not a single lead.
Yeah, and the whole goal was if we got a lead or a house out of it, we would have bought like 100 more. But again, though, it's the reason I bring it up, it's because we had somebody sponsoring a couple of events a couple months ago with Bluetooth thingies. So I don't know.
Technology may have improved. It might work better now. You might want to try that out as well. So
Debbie Camacho Franco, thank you for watching. She loves your laptop. All the gaming side.
So seriously, I still see, am I the only one that's only seeing 26 likes and 26 hearts? I got 45 people watching.
You have to refresh.
Oh, okay, because I'm feeling kind of embarrassed over here. It's like, I got 40 plus people and I can only get 20 likes.
Likes me.
That's horrible. I am very, very much, what do you call that?
65 likes.
I'm a needy person. I need likes, I need hearts. If I don't see likes and hearts, I don't feel like I did my job. So cool. What do we got? We got another 8 minutes left of this show. Do we have any questions popping up? Come on, this is an open opportunity.
Bettina, she says, thank you, Daniel, for the sharing of our love of our deal. I can't wait to join up with the ladies on the show. Some killer info I got in store for everyone.
So for everybody that wants to see exactly what happened with Bettina's deal, she's going to be on a future episode of Iron Heels. Iron Heels is our new show on Friday, sponsored by
Iron Heels Mastermind with Jamie.
Iron Heels Mastermind with Jamie Burleson-Woolley. She's absolutely out there kicking it. So if you want to see women in this business that are absolutely crushing it, tune in on Fridays for that show.
So I might as well just, it's Thursdays.
It's Thursday. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so let me break it down for you guys. So we had Boss Babes last week, but then after we aired it, we were like, oh, cool, this is really good. Then we Googled it, and then we tried to get some websites, and it turns out that Boss Babes is being used by like 17 other different groups. So we're like, you know what? Let's back up. Let's create a new thing. We have our little group message. Again, there's like 15, 20 powerful, gorgeous women in this group. Guess how many men are in there? Just me. Yeah, I like it. Awkward? No, it's not awkward. It's amazing. I planned this right. Anyway, so we're moving forward with a show called Iron Heels every Thursday at 11 a.m. where it's women empowerment. It's talking about deals. It's talking about real estate. Just talking about real estate, but also women in real estate and whatnot. Every other Friday is Quest IRA that comes in.
Right, and they drop some bombs.
And then the other Friday. Anyway, so one Friday you got Quest, the other Friday we have an opening, so therefore we're going to do another show called Heels Off, where it's going to be kind of like Hoda, Kathy Lee, where the same women in the Iron Heels group,
All right.
they get to come in. So that way there's a larger rotation. So they get basically a guaranteed show every single week,
Right.
and then an additional show every other week.
That's going to be awesome.
Where it's a
So-
little bit more laid back, a little bit more, talking about being a woman in the real estate, and less like, hey, let's try to make some money. It's more like this mofo here, that kind of thing.
So for those of you that haven't realized yet, Propelio is awesome. We dropped some serious bombs up here, and just tune in because we're coming in now 5 days a week, I believe.
But yeah, 5 days a week plus one.
So we've got Grant Kemp on Wednesdays. For those of you that do not know Grant Kemp, this guy is like up here. Like I'm down here somewhere. Grant Kemp's knowledge is like way up here. He can get very technical, and he does. So if you enjoy learning some of the serious information, like high level real estate investor education stuff, you got to tune in on Wednesdays.
So here's the schedule as it stands. Every single day at 11 a.m., we've got programming here on Facebook and on YouTube. 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Mondays is Propelio Live with Daniel, where it's just us, just chatting it up. Tuesdays is Titanium Tuesdays with RJ Bates and one of his guests and whatnot. And he's going to be doing major case studies of what's actually going on. Wednesdays.
For those that don't know RJ Bates, this guy flips across the United States, Alaska, Hawaii, Arizona.
Yeah, he's a real player.
Yeah, dude has got some serious stuff going on.
Real player. Wednesdays, Grant
Kemp.
Thank you. I was going to say Grant Cardone and then Grant Smith. I'm like, that's not his name.
He's closed like 50 million in subject to transactions. I can't directly quote that, but it is in the 8 figures of millions.
Grant teach me something.
Right.
Thursdays at 11, you've got the Iron Heel show where we have a rotation of women coming in. Thursday evenings at 7 o'clock, you got Redneck Real Estate.
That's Corey Thompson.
Yeah.
He's closed millions of mobile home parks.
It's a little bit more,
It's more for the late night television shows. You got to be careful with that one.
And then on Fridays, you have either Quest IRA, and the other week we have Off Heels, which is a continuation of the women on Iron Heels.
So if you want to be notified as this content's coming out, make sure that not only you like Propelio's page, you really need to go in there and say, not only just like, you're going to have to click the little buttons and it says like, give me notifications of when we go live. Because what we have found is many of y'all aren't even getting our notifications.
Yeah.
So if you want to be notified as more of this content is coming out, make sure that you go to Propelio's page, subscribe. We've got 5 days a week now, massive content getting dropped for everybody out there. I don't think that there's a better place right now to get education from.
And on top of that, we're actively shooting Academy stuff all week too. So
yeah, so for those
we're a full-blown studio, y'all.
So for those of you that have checked out the Academy, we did have a hiccup whenever we released the weekend of the release. We had a big hiccup where we had to strip a lot of the content back out. We've got a lot ready to release, and we're getting that all ready to release right now.
Yeah.
So I know we're a little light at launch. Bear with us. We're getting more of it coming out right now.
And I believe it was either supposed to be over the Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, or maybe today that your pre-foreclosure class was going to be released as well.
So yeah, I believe the pre-foreclosure class is getting released today. The short sales class might also be getting released today. And we've got at least another 10 to 20 in behind there somewhere that are ready to go. So we're getting that ready for y'all. So keep tuned. For those that have not heard of the Propelio Academy yet, it's free education. This is not turning into a sales pitch. Go to propelio.com/academy. You can register for free. You can watch all these educational, actionable videos for free. We had some issues with site speed at beta launch. We have cleaned that site speed up now. So if y'all were complaining before about it being slow, fixed. And our goal is to make sure that everybody out there is getting the content that they want to grow and build their businesses from.
Cool. So what else we got going on? What's your page? The page is just this, Facebook. Propelio app on Facebook, and then Propelio on YouTube. That's where all the stuff is. If you go to propelio.tv, you'll go to our YouTube page. But ultimately, that's it. We're just trying to give you as much content as possible. But ultimately, what we would love for you to do is check out propelio.com and try out our subscription services. Quick highlight: it's access to MLS comps, access to have a off-market lead list, and an investor-friendly website. Quick, easy, ready to go.
7-day free trial, no credit card required. So like literally right now, don't even pull out your wallet. If you want to check out what the software is like, if you need a website for your real estate investing business, go to propelio.com, no credit card needed. Boom, sign up, build a website. If you like the website, you can keep it. It's 49 bucks a month. If you don't like it, guess what? You didn't even have to pull out your credit card.
And on top of that is if you're not actively doing deals, don't do that yet. Go to propelio.com/academy, learn what to do, and then when you have a good base knowledge, then check us out.
So I appreciate everybody for tuning in, man.
What's up? And we'll see you tomorrow with Titanium Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Check it.
Have a good one.